What is going on, everybody? I hope you're all enjoying your Saturday morning. This is NYG Jeff 3285, and today I'm going to be giving you my keys to victory for the New York Football Giants to be able to go in there and defeat the Tennessee Titans. No, I am not saying upset the Tennessee Titans. I am saying defeat the Tennessee Titans because I don't believe the Titans are as good of a team as they were last year, and I do believe that the Giants are actually a little bit more on a closer playing field to the Titans than some other experts believe. Now, I think that the New York Giants and Tennessee Titans game 1 is going to be pretty much about the New York Giants being the complete unknown right now. Now, I know a lot of content creators out there have said the same thing about the Giants. We don't know what this New York Giants team is. We know that Brian Daboll is going to be going into his first year as an NFL coach. We know that Mike Kafka is going to be going into his first year being an offensive coordinator calling the plays for the New York Giants. And we know that Wink Martindale, even though his defense has been very common throughout his time in Baltimore, it's going to be his first year in New York, so we have to see how he's going to be able to deploy some of these players on his defense, even though we all believe it's going to be through the pass rush. This is my keys to the New York Giants victory. And obviously, number one, every single Giants content creator has been saying this, and I'm going to echo everybody that's been saying it. You have to stop Derrick Henry. If the New York Giants want a chance to be able to have a successful game on defense against the Tennessee Titans offense, they have to make sure that they stop Derrick Henry and do not allow number 22 on the Tennessee Titans to run nuts over on that game. That means pretty much you have to make sure that the New York Giants have to make sure they do not hesitate when it comes to their tackling. They have to have the outside linebackers have good run contain on the outside and not get confused on the outside. They can't just go forward inside and allow Derrick Henry to bounce out to the outside and have those lanes to be able to cut outside and go for those big runs over there. They have to make sure that they plug up the middle and do not allow Derrick Henry to bull rush forward. So you need guys like Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Justin Ellis, Nick Williams, and DJ Davidson to plug up the middle of that defense. And the New York Giants, I'm going to give a shout out to my guy, Coach Ed Gladney, because he made a video about this earlier. The New York Giants have to be able to make sure they tackle Derrick Henry by the legs, and they cannot try to body tackle him because Derrick Henry has such a strong upper body that he's going to be able to bounce off defenders and push forward where he's not going to be able to get knocked down as easily. So the Giants have to make sure that they have to be able to tackle Derrick Henry down by his legs and try to trip him up a little bit so he doesn't get his momentum going, where once he gets in that second or third gear, he's going to be trying to just push forward and either push the defensive line going, because the Titans also have a very strong run offensive line scheme. They're very good at run blocking on their offensive line, so the Giants have to make sure that they go over there and they penetrate up the middle, that they have to make sure they do that and knock off Derrick Henry and tackle him by his legs and make sure that Derrick Henry doesn't bull rush through the middle, because if the New York Giants don't do a good job of tackling, Derrick Henry might have a field day, and it's going to be a longer day for the New York Giants defense than anticipated. And they have to make sure the outside linebackers and the outside linebackers or defensive ends have to get strong contain, and they have to be very disciplined on the outside when it comes to the running game, because Derrick Henry has the ability to bounce out to the outside, and they have to make sure that they have good contain on the outside, or if they go too much in the middle when it comes to their pass rush or run defense, Derrick Henry could just easily glide up the outside and go for a big 10, 15, 20-yard gain or more. So then obviously the biggest key for the New York Giants, stop the run and stop Derrick Henry in his tracks. You might not be able to stop him, but slow him down enough where he doesn't become too big of a difference maker. And another key for me, you have to get a consistent pass rush on Ryan Tannehill and make sure you throw off his game, that he can't just settle in there and find his open targets. Sure, the Tennessee Titans wide receiver core is not a threat right now. Sure, that the Tennessee Titans offensive line is not as good as it was previously, as they lost Roger Saffold in the offseason. They have an aging Taylor Lewan at left tackle, and they have a rookie right now at right tackle. But the New York Giants might be going into this game without their starting outside linebackers, as both Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari right now look very questionable, even maybe streaming towards doubtful to play this game. So the Giants might have to rely on guys like O'Shane Ximines, Timon Fox, the rookie undrafted free agent of UNC, as well as a guy like Quincy Roche, who they might have to call up from their practice squad to be able to go up there and provide that pass rush at the outside linebacking position for the New York Giants going forward. So the Giants have to make sure that they get good contributions from the outside linebacker position. Wink Martindale is definitely going to be blitzing Tannehill to throw him off balance, especially if the Giants could do a good job at stopping the run. So you have to make sure that you get up the middle, you have a strong pass rush, because the Giants have inconsistencies at the secondary position with a lot of young players, as well as the inside linebacking position. So the Giants have to make sure they get a strong enough pass rush on Ryan Tannehill going forward. Otherwise, Tannehill might be able to sit back there and be able, even with the wide receivers not being as good as we think, Robert Woods still might be able to find the open spot. And a Traylon Burks or Nikhila Westbrook Whiteside might be able to find their open slots over there if they have the one-on-one coverage, because you know the Giants are going to be keying on stopping the run and making those wide receivers beat them. So get that pass rush on Ryan Tannehill. Now, in terms of the offensive side of the ball, the New York Giants have to feed this man right here. Number 26 has to make sure he is the central figure of this offense, not only for this game against the Titans, but at least for the first few weeks of the season, because you have Daniel Jones and the wide receivers learning this new scheme as they go forward. So you expect maybe a little bit of growing pains when it comes to the passing game, plus the offensive line gelling a little bit when it comes to their pass blocking overall and getting used to one another consistently on the offensive line, plus the fact that the Giants are going to be missing their starting left guard for the first 4 weeks of the season and maybe more, with Shane Lemieux right now out on injured reserve due to a foot injury. So we're going to be having some unknowns at the left guard position, whether it be third round pick Joshua Zudu, the left guard out of UNC, or we might have journeyman Ben Bredesen starting over there, or possibly a guy like Devery Hamilton, who we signed in the offseason. So the New York Giants have to make sure they heavily run the ball. The Giants have actually been a much better run blocking team right now than a pass blocking team. Andrew Thomas consistently is looking like a top left tackle right now. He's looking to become a top left tackle. Evan Neal is still going through the growing pains right now. The first round pick out of Alabama at pick number 7. He's struggling a little bit when it comes to his pass protection, but it's going to happen with a guy that's still adjusting to the NFL league. So his footwork and his hand placement and everything are going to start getting better as he goes along, but it might be a little bit of a struggle for him to consistently get his game all around together while Bobby Johnson helps coach him up, and also because of the fact he's just learning the NFL game. So there might be some struggles with an Andrew Thomas to begin the season. Evan Neal to begin the season, but I think he'll be all right at right tackle, as well as the center position. I think John Feliciano is a solid player. I don't think he's spectacular, but we'll have to see what he's going to do during the season. And Saquon Barkley is also going to have to be used very strong in the receiving game too, as I could easily see the Giants maybe doing some wheel routes on the outside with him, some slant passes, maybe even sending him on a go route towards the outside or towards the middle of the seam of the football field. I expect Saquon Barkley to be heavily used in the passing and the running game going into the season so far. So expect 26 to be a heavy targeted guy in the running and the receiving game for the New York Giants going forward. Daniel Jones is my next key. Daniel Jones has to make sure that he does not get rattled in the pocket, because even though the Tennessee Titans did lose their stud outside linebacker Harold Landry for the season due to a torn ACL in practice last week, the Titans still have some formidable players on that defensive side, including Jeffrey Simmons, who accounted for 9 sacks last year at the defensive tackle position for the Titans, as well as outside linebacker Bud Dupree, who we all know could be a threat on that outside. Even though he struggles a little bit in the run game, he's still a very solid pass rusher, of course, as well as safety Kevin Byard, who is one of the best safeties safeties in this league, and he had a few interceptions last year, so he's a ball hawk out there, and he's going to be looking for Daniel Jones to be making the crucial bad play and look to be able to see if he can pick off some of those plays out there. So Daniel Jones has got to make sure he sits in the pocket like he did in preseason, scan the field, find his open target, or find the guy that has the one-on-one matchup advantage and get the ball to him in that position, whether it's Galladay, Tony, Shepard, Robinson, Slayton, whoever it is. And that's going to be my next key of the game. And one of my final keys. The wide receivers, I believe. I know a lot of people are talking about the offensive line and Saquon Barkley. My key is the wide receivers because I believe the Giants wide receivers, when they're healthy, they can make a difference in this game as long as the Giants can contain that pass rush of the Tennessee Titans. Because when you have a Kenny Galladay and a Kadarius Toney and a Sterling Shepard and a Wan'Dale Robinson and a Darius Slayton, those five can be threats in a passing game depending on what type of scheme Mike Kafka dials up on that offensive side of the field. And I expect Daniel Jones to try to go over there and find the open one-on-one matchup, whether it be Kenny Galladay on those slant passes or maybe a 50-50 ball deep or on the sideline to be able to make those big contested catches, whether it be a Kadarius Toney who you're going to throw the ball to the backfield and have some wide receivers and tight ends block in front of him so he can make those twitchy plays to help pick up those first downs and more, or if he wants to go deep, whether it be a Sterling Shepard that could take the ball in the middle of the field, be that slot guy that can move the chains, or occasionally take a slant for a first down, whether it be a Wan'Dale Robinson, who they're going to be their gadget player, used all around the field, maybe even a wildcat situation, throw him in the slot for some plays, as well as put him in the backfield for, some of the same similar plays that Kadarius Toney's going to be running, but more. And especially with Darius Slayton, who we all know is the fastest wide receiver on this team, and it could be a consistent deep threat, who is Daniel Jones, one of his favorite targets on that field, and that Daniel Jones might want to bomb the ball down to him. Bomb the ball down to him down the field, and make sure he can get those 20 to 40 plus yard catches on the outside when the one-on-one matchups dictate themselves over there. So I think the wide receivers are going to play a key element in this game because Caleb Farley is coming off a serious injury last year. I don't think their other cornerbacks are that great. And I think these Giants wide receivers, if they remain healthy and the offensive line could be able to pass block enough to give Daniel Jones time to scan the field, I think those wide receivers can make an impact in this game. So that's who else I think can make an impact in this game. And then my last key of the game, these cornerbacks on the Giants have to remain disciplined when it comes to their coverage and make sure that they help communicate with each other in the back end of that defense. I know it's going to be a challenge. You have a lot of young players that are learning this Wink Martindale's defensive system right now. And I have a feeling that guys like Aaron Robinson, who's still pretty much a rookie right now in this league, learning the NFL game, he's going to maybe have a little bit of growing pains, but he's got to make sure he does a better job when it comes to turning his hips, when it comes to finding the ball in the air, not being able to commit those pass interference plays or holding fouls that got him a little bit in the preseason. Adoree Jackson has got to make sure he stays healthy, and he has gotten beat a couple of times deep. So I have the confidence in Adoree Jackson, but he has had occasional places where he's gotten beat up the top, and he has had injury issues. And Darnay Holmes, while I love his ball hawk ability, he is a guy that's somehow always there when it comes to making the interception or the tackle. He does have propensities as well as getting beat on some of those quick slant plays, or as well as some deep plays in the slot. So these guys have got to remain disciplined, and Julian Love is going to be his first season pretty much being a straight up safety at this position, as he's been a guy that's pretty much bounced around all over the place. So the Giants have to make sure that a guy like Julian Love stays disciplined in his passing ability, and he makes sure he reads the plays when it comes to coverage in the back end of the end zone, because he has that occasional plays where he comes up a little bit late when it comes to coverage, when he needs safety help over the middle of the field, or when it comes to a deep play. Julian Love sometimes is a little bit too slow to react to it, and he does get beat over the middle or up top. But in terms of the run game, I trust Julian Love the most out of all our safeties and out of all our secondary players, because Julian Love is an excellent open field tackler when it comes to this. And Xavier McKinney, he's just got to be that ball hawk guy. He's got to lead this secondary going into his third year. He's looking to be a guy that's going to take a jump as one of the upper echelon safeties in this league. I'm expecting Xavier McKinney to be a guy to take that jump in his second year his third year in the league and become one of those safeties and lead this secondary to maybe gel a little bit better towards the end of the season. I think the beginning of the season is going to be a little bit of an issue, but I think as the season goes on, it's going to be a little bit more clear. Maybe when these guys start getting more used to Wink Martindale's system, and they're going to start gelling a little better and learn and communicating a little bit better in the back of the field for the defense, then I think we're going to be starting to see something a little bit better as we go forward. So those are my keys to the New York Giants having a chance to defeat, not upset, defeat the Tennessee Titans this Sunday, stopping Derrick Henry in the run game, making sure that they get themselves a consistent pass rush and making Tannehill uncomfortable, getting the ball to Saquon Barkley as much as early as often as possible, whether it be in the run game or the receiving game. The wide receivers having to make sure that they take advantage of those one-on-one opportunities and, of course, staying healthy on the field. Daniel Jones being calm and collective in the pocket, and when those one-on-one opportunities for his wide receivers are there, scan the field and make those throws when they are there, and make sure you avoid the turnover, whether it comes to fumbling or throwing the interception. Making sure that secondary doesn't give up those big plays if the pass rush is negated over the middle. So the secondary has got to make sure they remain disciplined and communicate with one another when it comes to those big plays that could happen with a Robert Woods or a Traylon Burks or a Nikita Westbrook type play. So those are my keys to the New York Giants' chances to win this game against the Tennessee Titans this Sunday at 4:25 in Nashville. If you guys like this video, please hit the like button below. Subscribe if you haven't already to NYG Jeffy T 3285, where I'm going to give you more breaking news, injury and roster updates, as well as chatter and predictions for the New York Giants, as well as the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Mets, WWE Wrestling, some AEW Wrestling, and food for thought. Turn on the bell for notifications on the next video or short that's going to be dropping on the channel surrounding the New York Football Giants. And let me know in the comments section if you agree with any of the takes that I made in this video, or if you have some additional things that are keys for the New York Giants to be able to go down to Nashville, Tennessee and defeat the Tennessee Titans and start the season 1-0. Isn't that a concept? The Giants actually being above 500 for the first time since 2017. We'd love to see it. We're overdue for it. Let's make it happen this Sunday. So I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Saturday. Take it easy, and let's go New York Football Giants. Let's start this season off strong. Let's get a win here in Nashville, and let's go New York Giants. Together Blue, everyone.